Hi, everyone. I'm Cole Harper. Welcome to Fear Assembly. Joining me today is Eric, best known as Popcorn Selections, as well as Stoney. So, right off the bat, how excited are you guys for Evil Dead coming out in just a couple days here, depending on what market you're in?
And look, I'm super excited. I cannot wait for Evil Dead. That's one of my favorite franchises. So yeah, July 10th, I'm ready.
Yeah, I already saw it. It was dope. I'm going to see it again this weekend. It's a post-credit scene in there that they didn't show us during our screening, so I got to go see what the post-credit scene was.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right. So, Stoney, does it live up to the hype without spoiling any of the storyline components?
Yeah, I already dropped my long and my short review about it, and
Hmm.
it definitely is up there. I mean, it's not really hard to make an Evil Dead movie, to
Hmm.
be honest. Like, as long as you stick to the core formula, and you really can't go wrong with it, to be honest.
Yep.
It has a set formula that's unique that a lot of other horror franchises. I mean, every horror franchise has a formula, but I don't think no one's formula is as like solid as Evil Dead. Like it's
Hmm.
you literally can't go wrong making an Evil Dead movie.
All right. Well, speaking of that, do you feel the same about Resident Evil, or are you more trepidatious, if I may say, for that one? Because obviously, this is going to be kind of a new take on where that franchise goes.
I'm ready for Resident Evil. I want that movie. I've been defending that movie, me and Cody actually. Um, because of what Zach Kreger is trying to do with it. A lot of people don't
Hmm.
want to rock with the deviation from the source material, but I personally I think it's what he's doing is smart because if you give us something that's too like the source material, people are gonna start complaining off rip. Like
Right.
they're gonna
Yeah.
automatically have something to compare it to. They're
Hmm.
gonna be comparing it to the games and making they're gonna like, oh, that's not how Leon looks, and Leon's not that short, or he's not that tall, or
Right.
Claire isn't that skinny, or it's just it is a lot of annoyances when it comes
Yeah.
to the Resident Evil fandom. They're aggravating as hell.
Hmm.
Just being honest, like they're one of the most annoying fan bases out there. So it's you really you can't satisfy them regard. I think, and that's probably why Zach Craig is doing what he's doing the way he's doing it because he knows there's no way to satisfy them regardless. So it's like you might as well just do what you want to do.
Right.
I mean, that's the best way to make a movie that's going to hit. You know, if you try to please everybody, you end up with something vanilla and neutral and very predictable, right? And that's kind of the problem with a lot of the studios that put their hand in the creative process. You know, they kind of water it down. They're like, oh, let's cast this person because they're safer, they're going to sell more tickets, or whatever it is. But I like when directors and producers just say like, nope, this is going to be my thing. This is my version of it. Take it or leave it. So Eric,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I feel the same exact way. But what I really noticed when I watched the trailer, there's an atmosphere. And I've been real big on atmosphere in horror movies lately. Like if it doesn't feel scary, like you can have as many jump scares as you want. It doesn't matter to me. But if it doesn't feel, it's not creepy as hell, it's not doing anything for me. And I see it. Like when I'm looking at the trailer, whatever he's doing, like it's working. I can feel it through the trailer. It reminds me of like how Barbarian felt when I first saw the trailer. It's like a certain atmosphere to it. It's like I can
Mhm,
tell he's not just relying on whatever monsters there, whatever zombie or whatever the case. He's setting a feeling in and he's moving forward on that. And I can appreciate it. So I'm ready for it.
mhm. And a question for you guys, like in the zombie sense, like with another movie coming out from actually one of our favorite Asian directors, right? Who also made a lot of hits like Train to Busan. We've got Colony coming out very soon. Do you compare, these two types of films, or do you kind of treat them independently for what they are?
What do you mean, like Colony and Train to Busan?
Like if you see no, if you see Colony and you see Resident Evil, are you like, "Okay, Resident Evil is a better zombie movie," or do you kinda, like, look at each
Nah,
independently?
I
Mm-mm.
just look at every film for what it is. You know what I
Mhm,
mean? I'm not comparing anything because at the end of the day, each director is coming in with their own vision. Each movie is supposed to do its own thing. So I don't care
mhm.
which one is the best. I just want them both to scare the hell out of me. You know what I mean? Like that's all I care about. You know what I'm saying?
Yep,
If it's scary, if it's good, if it keeps my attention, I'm there. I'm not making, any comparisons.
alright,
Yeah, I
fair enough.
mean, you can't really And plus, they're two different types of zombie films. They're not the same kind. Like,
Right.
one is, for one is a Korean zombie film, which is gonna be more so along the lines of a Train to Busan or a
Mhm.
Seoul Station, and they're not. Yeah, you can't really compare those two, and I don't think it's smart to do that. I think it's just best to just watch it for what it is, because you're gonna get two different things. That's like comparing Maniac as a slasher to like Friday the 13th. Like, they're still
Mhm.
slashers, but those are two completely different slashers.
Right.
So while Resident Evil may give us more of a survival, tense horror experience, Colony is going to give us more of an action horror,
Mhm.
fast pace kind of energy. So comparing those two, it's kind of unfair.
Yeah. And do you have a preference stylistically to one over the other, or you just want everything zombies, everything scary?
I mean, I'm more of a slow zombie guy, honestly.
Mhm.
But I love Train to Busan. I like zombie movies, period, whether they're fast or slow. It's just my preference would be slow. But I mean, I'm not worried about it. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be good regardless,
Mhm.
because of who's making it.
Alright. So, in terms of some other Asian horror films, I wanted to cover some of this because I know Eric and Stoney, we've talked about this on a couple, previous podcasts. So, Colony's one that we're really excited about. Are there any others that you've seen recently that you wanted to shout out and discuss, or any that you're excited to
Yeah.
see coming up?
One Asian horror that I enjoyed, I saw it fairly recently, is one called Incantation. It was on
Mhm.
Netflix. It's about this lady. She kind of breaks this like religious taboo and ends up cursed. And I think it carries over to like her daughter. And it's a found footage Asian horror film, which was, kind of different to me. But that scary, man. Like that thing, it has some, yeah, it has something going on for it. So Incantation, Netflix, if you haven't seen.
Yeah,
Alright.
it's a Vietnamese found footage movie coming out called The Abandoned Mansion. It's coming out. It came out on June 12th in theaters in Japan. I mean, in Vietnam.
Okay.
I don't know when it's coming to us, but it's called The Abandoned Mansion.
Mm, I'll
Lao
try that
Chu
one.
Hoa. That's the Vietnamese name of it.
Okay.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, I really enjoy, that style of movie as well, because it seems like the Asian horror films, they get you with the jump scares, they get you with the atmospheric horror, they
Yeah.
get you some characters that you care about, and then they, add in a twist here and there. Even going back to movies like Parasite that we haven't really talked much about, right, from
Mm,
Bong Joon-ho. It's like a lot of people don't even consider that a horror film, but, like, I think there's nothing more terrifying. I think it's been a long enough time period to share this part, but the fact that there could be people that come into your house and then they don't necessarily leave and you don't know
right.
where they are and hey, there's this
Yeah.
hidden room, a hidden basement, an attic. I think like all that kind of stuff, separate from just a overt, home invasion film, in many
Right.
ways is even more terrifying, right? You go to bed under your roof, you feel like you're safe, you lock all your doors, but if somebody's in there with you, that's pretty terrifying. So I think that the
Right.
psychological aspect of movies like Parasite is what elevates a lot of the Asian led horror, at least for me. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen a lot of the American versions of Asian horror movies. Like one of my favorites growing up was The Grudge.
mhm.
That was I love that film, but I never went back and watched the Asian version. I feel bad for, you know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm missing out. I always hear people talking about it. So that's on my list too. I think it's called Stoney. What's the Asian version of The Grudge?
Ju-on?
Juwan. There
Yep.
you go. Yeah. I'm about to watch that one.
Yeah, I saw that movie when I was like 13. Both of them, and yeah, I've loved that movie ever since I first saw it because of how different it was for me as an American. I was so used to slashers and just typical Western horror movies. So when I saw The Grudge, it was a different experience. I mean, just like it was an American remake of the Japanese movie, just like The Ring, but the difference is The Grudge is more authentic to the source material because they brought back the same exact director who directed Ju-on to direct The Grudge. He brought back the same lady who played Kayoko. The movie was set in Japan. It still had a lot of Japanese heritage intertwined into the film, so it felt authentic to the source material versus The Ring, which was completely Americanized. And
Yeah.
honestly, going back to look at The Ring, it doesn't even hold up for me the way it used to. Like, it doesn't hold up the way it used to. It's still a good movie and I still enjoy it, but like after seeing what a Japanese remake should be, and after looking at the Japanese original version of it, yeah, definitely, it doesn't even hold up the way it used to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one that I saw recently, I tried to find it on Tubi and a few other platforms. I could only find it on Pluto TV, which is interesting. But it's called Pulse. The original name. This is a Japanese film. I think it's called Cairo.
Yeah.
And it's very much a psychological horror film. So you kind of got to stick with the story. But it was just such an interesting take because it's basically about um, people recognizing that, our time is limited. At some point, we will all experience death.
Mhm.
And how does it impact us and how we kind of interact with each other, while we're obviously here living on Earth. And people see various things. They see shadows, they see remnants of past people, and they can't quite tell, okay, are they a ghost? Are they here? And this is kind of like a psychosis that I'm experiencing. So it hits on so many levels, and it really surprised me because I thought I was going to get and I didn't do a ton of research going in, but I thought I was going to get more of the jump scares and things that I mentioned. But like I said, it's more of a psychological horror film, and I really enjoyed it. Did either of you see that one?
No, I never saw that one.
All
Yeah,
right.
I saw a post, came out in 2001. The
Yep.
Japanese name's called Cairo, something like that. And
Hmm.
the American remake came out in '06. And it was nothing like the Japanese one. I mean, the American one was decent,
Hmm.
but the Japanese one is it has such a different tone to it. I mean, the American one is like a just typical horror movie, got your jump
Mhm.
scares and stuff like that. But the Japanese one is much more of a slow burn.
Hmm.
Some of the best ghosts that you will see because the ghosts actually move and behave like ghosts and spirits. Um, and it's just very eerie, very unsettling. Low key ahead of its time because it tackles the internet.
Right.
And, and this was back in like 2001 before the internet was even what it is today. So, having a movie about the dangers of the internet back in
Yeah.
2001 and having the internet be like a dimension into the afterlife was a very unique concept for the early 2000s. And, since the movie came out in '01, most likely they made the movie in 2000.
Hmm.
So them thinking about that already back then, they had the use of webcams and chat rooms, and yeah, I think it set the groundwork for movies like Host and
Hmm.
Unfriended and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So I
Yeah.
definitely give that movie a lot of respect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it covers a ton of themes like loneliness and isolation, and like you said, just people being obsessed with technology and kind of disappearing into these other realms, which is kind of what we're doing, right, in a lot of these forums. So, but yeah, you can check that one out on Pluto TV. Um, Outside of that, are there any other Asian horror films that you guys want to discuss while we're on that topic, or should we keep
Mhm.
going?
Oh, that was it for me.
All right. Well, one question I have for you that I was thinking about, and I know we've covered it a little bit on the past podcast, but does it bother you when the movie is in a native foreign language and you're watching with the caption files and the subs, or do you actually like seeing that original format? Because there's obviously movies like Godzilla minus one where they're
Mhm.
like, hey, I want you watching all the special effects and stuff that they won the Oscar for. I don't
Yeah.
want you necessarily reading the captions, but then with Parasite, it's like you do have to kind of follow the closed captions to know, what's going on throughout.
It doesn't bother me anymore. Here's why. When I was younger,
Mhm.
that used to add I would like when somebody would have the subtitles, I'm like, "Cut it off, it's a distraction," but I had, my brother-in-law, he watches all his movies with subtitles on. So I just started to do it, and then eventually it stopped bothering me. So now I watch a lot of movies with almost every show I watch, as a matter of fact, I keep the subtitles on because sometimes I miss certain things that they say, and if it's on screen, I don't have to rewind it back. So subtitles don't really bother me at all now.
I mean, you can't. I mean, when it comes to foreign movies, you kind of can't not want subtitles.
Right.
It kind of
Yep.
that would literally not make sense.
You
Like
don't turn the dub on, Stoney, and listen to the English voiceover of everything?
most Asian horror films don't have the dub option because most Asian
Mhm,
horror films don't actually have an American release, so
Mhm.
they only come in their native language, and
mhm,
because of that, you don't really have much of a choice. Like you have to listen to it the way it was made. The only Asian horror movies that have American dubs are Asian horror movies that were made by American studios, and there's hardly any of those. There may be some English dubs for more popular Asian horror movies, but
mhm.
most of them they don't have it. So it's like you kind of have no choice. I mean, you can't just watch the movie without them because you won't know what's going on.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like a what choice do you have? It's like a non-issue to be honest.
And
Sure.
for me, the dub is worse than the subtitles sometimes. Like, I'd rather just read the subtitles than try to hear this American voice over top of it. It don't
Yeah.
it throw me off more than the subtitles.
Yeah. So on a similar note in terms of format, when there's a movie out, whether it's Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day or the upcoming Odyssey film from Christopher Nolan, do you guys go out of your way to watch it in like the IMAX format, 4K, widescreen? Like, do you have a preferred format when you have the option, or do you
Yeah.
just go to whatever is available based on your time preferences?
If I can see it in IMAX or in Dolby,
Hmm.
like, I'm a happy camper. Like, if I have to see it in another version, then cool. But for me, I love that, because a lot of times the theater experience is a lot better. Like, you have the better seats. The seats are leather, recliner, screen is big, sound is on point, it's crisp. You just can't beat it. So I like IMAX. Um, I've become privy to Dolby recently, which I like
Hmm.
almost just as much. So yeah, for me,
Yeah.
IMAX and Dolby.
Yeah, I'm a Dolby guy. I don't really. I mean, IMAX is cool, but um, there aren't any. They're not. There's not many true IMAX screens.
Hmm.
So most of the time when you're watching a movie in IMAX, you're not really watching it in IMAX. You're just watching it on a bigger screen.
Right.
But that's not necessarily IMAX. There's only like in Atlanta, there's only like I think two real IMAX screens,
Hmm.
and it's not that big of a deal to me, honestly. I don't really care about the size of the screen. I'm more of a Dolby guy. I like sound. Sound is what's more
Hmm.
important to me. So that's why I prefer Dolby. Dolby has the best sound out of any
Yeah.
uh format. So I'm always gonna go Dolby if I can.
All right.
Uh,
Have you
yeah.
have you done any of like the 4K experience where it like squirts a little water on you when they're, like diving into the river or
But a
whatever?
40X, yeah, I've done
Yeah.
I did 40X for Final Destination Bloodlines and for Jurassic World Rebirth.
Oh yeah.
All right.
That's one I haven't experienced yet. I still gotta go do that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
And
It's
I
straight.
feel like it would annoy me after a while. Like, I'm trying to hold my popcorn and stuff and the seat moving back and forth, you know? So
Yeah. Well, one of the films that I loved in IMAX was Sinners from Ryan Coogler, and obviously,
mm,
he has come on video a few times. I don't remember if he was promoting a camera company or which brand, but he was really explaining really well the various formats of 4K versus this, digital versus film, widescreen, and all the various aspect ratios. And he was actually breaking down different scenes of what you might see, depending on what theater you saw the movie at. You may have totally missed certain characters, certain parts of the scene, and then he was sharing kind of his preferences. But it was really unique to kind of feel like maybe there's different versions of something like Sinners, depending on what format you see. So I'm curious if you guys remember seeing that in any specific format, and if you have a preference when it comes to video format.
unfortunately, I missed it in IMAX. I wanted to see it in IMAX. I forgot what happened to where it was that I wasn't able to see it. So I missed out big time. But if they ever do like a re-release and put it back in theaters, I'm running. Because I feel like I missed a moment with that one. Because I always hear how great Sinners was in IMAX, man, and it sucks I missed out on that.
Well, going back to what you were saying, Stoney, I mean, my favorite part of that IMAX experience was, hearing the music and all the sound effects that were playing out in that. Because the movie itself was great, but there were like basically music videos kind of playing throughout, as well. And I'm a huge music guy when it comes to how it's incorporated into film. And it's, I don't want to say lazy, but I think overused to just say, oh, we're going to license this really popular song and play it. But for Ryan Coogler, he had all this original music and worked it into the storyline in the film where it really pulled in the experience.
Yeah, I liked. I did see Sinners in IMAX. This on
Mhm.
my second watch. I did go to one of the actual IMAX screens out here, and it was a decent experience. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
But it still
So
didn't beat my Dolby though, because the movie was so sound heavy. It's Dolby for me always.
mhm. All right. So question is, where would Ryan Coogler rank on some of your favorite directors and filmmakers out there? Are you going to go see everything that he does, or does it have to, be a certain genre and a certain style to get your attention?
I mean, it has to be a certain movie for
Hmm.
me. Like I'm not I'm I don't watch what I don't have interest in.
Yeah.
That's just kind of what it is. I don't really care who's in it or who made it. Like I have movies by my favorite actor that I haven't seen yet because I don't care to watch it. So it's if the plot's good, cast good, sound like an interesting story, I'm gonna rock with it regardless. But if I don't have no interest in it, I ain't gonna do it.
Hmm. Yeah, and he's collabed with Michael B. Jordan like what 5 times, 6 times now, something like that. So
Yeah.
obviously that led to his Oscar as well. So I think when you have that kind of pairing, it just you double down, right? Same way Christopher Nolan likes to cast very similar people across his movies. So yeah, I like Michael B. Jordan, and I thought he killed it in Sinners. So obviously, I think the community did as well. So you mentioned, Stoney, you have a favorite actor, but you didn't name who that is. Who is one of your favorite actors that you're not
My
watching all their
favorite my
movies?
favorite actor has always been Will Smith. I've always been
Yeah.
a huge Will Smith fan, and
Okay.
there are a few movies that I haven't seen that he's made that I just don't care about him.
Okay. And so, what would be your favorite Will Smith movie, whether it's horror or not?
Oh, Bad Boys 2, always Bad Boys 2.
All right, Eric, you're nodding your head. You agree with Bad Boys too, or do you have another that you're going to
Oh
throw
yeah,
in?
Bad Boys 2 was definitely fire. In terms of my favorite actor, right now it's always been Denzel Washington. I don't know if
Hmm.
that's cliche or not, but that's my dog. Um, I actually rewatched Training Day for the first time in probably like 5 years, and it hit just like the first time. So anything
Hmm.
with Denzel in it, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to see it. Kind of similar to Stoney, certain stuff they may come out with that's on various topics that I don't find interesting, I might not go see it. But Equalizer, every Equalizer film I saw, Training Day, Train to Jesus, I can't remember the name of it right now. It's a train movie. Pelham, something like that.
Okay.
I'll look it up later, but Denzel Washington for me, for sure.
All right. Well, before we go down the Denzel rabbit hole, Stoney, have you seen Concussion with Will Smith? Have you seen that one, or is that one that you've put off?
Yeah, no, I ain't care to see that one to be honest.
All right. Yeah, I mean, he's incredible in that, and I felt like he was totally robbed of a potential nomination for his role in that film. And obviously, it's about concussions and how the NFL and various leagues try to hide some of that. So whether you're a football fan or not, it is based on a true story, and he plays the role of one of the lead scientists that essentially discovered CTE, which is an illness based on a multitude of injuries, usually one bad concussion or a series of concussions. So very interesting films, but yeah, not something that you want to watch multiple times. Very sad, very intense, not a horror film. But back to Denzel, one of my favorite Denzel horror films is Fallen. And
Mm,
that's what from like 94, 95, something like that. But it's like him and John Goodman and just a fantastic film. And we talked about it on one of the first episodes, but one of those movies where it just feels like there's no way for the good guys to win, right? The
right.
evil entity in this, similar to Evil Dead. It's like, how do you trick this thing? How do you get away from it, right? Because it can just kind
Yeah,
of jump around.
Yeah, Fallen was good.
yeah. And I haven't seen that movie since I was like 8 years old, bro. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's been years since I saw that movie, bro. He was
That's
like a
pretty.
detective or something in that movie, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, he was paralyzed.
Yeah. Yeah. Paralyzed. Or was that Bone Collector? I thought he was
That was Bone
paralyzed in
Collector.
Bone Collector. Bone
Yeah,
Collector.
yeah.
Now that's my movie. Bone
Mhm.
Collector. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Bone
that's the one I
Collector
like.
was fire. Yeah. You ever see that one, Cole?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Bone
put
that
Bone
one's
Collector,
yeah.
Fallen, and Seven as like to me, that's like an unofficial trilogy
Mhm.
because they
Yeah,
all have that same kind of vibe.
for sure.
I like those kind of movies. Those movies that like blend mystery thriller with a little bit of horror in it. Like
Yeah.
Mhm.
Seven, Kiss the Girls, Fallen, Bone Collector. I like those kind of movies. Those kind of movies are you don't really see movies like that like you used to. I
Yeah.
remember
Mhm.
Martin Lawrence was in one similar to that back in like 22 or 23.
Yeah.
It wasn't that great, but
Yeah.
it had potential though.
Most definitely. I like
Mhm.
that whole crime thriller / horror type of thing because I
Yeah.
like something to keep me guessing. Like, if I have to try to figure out who the killer is, and it's good at that, so it's like keeping me locked in and invested. I'm trying to piece together clues and stuff. Like in Bone Collector, I wouldn't have guessed the killer. I still to this day I don't know how I missed that guy was the killer, but yeah, that one was insane, bro.
Yep.
That
And
joke was
did
fire.
and did you see Highest to Lowest, which A24 did a collab with for Apple TV? It was Spike Lee directing with Denzel. What were your thoughts on Highest to Lowest?
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah, yeah. Be
I
honest.
I cut it off in the first 5 minutes. I ain't gonna lie to you. I
Wow.
watched it for like 5 minutes. It wasn't catching my attention, and I cut it off. I do probably need to go back and check it out, but I cut it off in like the first 5 minutes.
Mm.
Yeah, I wasn't really interested in it, to be honest.
Yeah, I watched it in full, and I had read a lot of the slam critic reviews of it and
Mhm.
whatnot. And the biggest disjointed part, since you obviously haven't watched the entire thing, was the music is kind of weird. Like it's like an intense scene, then it's playing like circus music type stuff.
Yeah, like
Um, like some of the characters, it's like they're passive, and then suddenly they're intense, and like there's all this urgency. So it was kind of all over the place, and then
mm,
it was slightly, in my opinion, predictable in terms of the direction that it was going to go. But just kind of an odd movie, to make, and obviously Spike Lee is, in the Hall of Fame of filmmakers, no matter how you look at it. So it's always interesting to me how somebody like him takes this project and says, "Here's what I'm going to do with this." And maybe he doesn't care about the critics and all that, but
mhm.
how does he not see, what you were seeing, Eric and Stoney? What were your thoughts on the movie?
I ain't watch it. I saw the
Yeah,
trailer. I wasn't really interested in it.
right.
Yeah,
Just like I said, if it don't catch my attention, I don't care who in it. I'm not watching it.
yeah.
All right. How about what were your thoughts on Black Klansman and Old Boy? Any of the other classics he's made in the last 10, 15 years? Do you feel like he got robbed from an Oscar for those as well, or?
Black Klansman was cool. I mean, when it comes to Oscars, I mean, I don't Oscars when when you're as a horror fan, I don't really care
Mhm,
about the Oscars because horror movies don't typically earn Oscars. So, and also my in the genres that I like the most growing up are
mhm,
not Oscar movies. I like action, I like comedy, I like martial arts movies, I like raunchy comedies, I like horror movies. Those
mhm,
kind of movies are not seen as, respectable cinema, So,
mhm.
nobody was lining up to give Friday or next Friday Oscars, but those are some of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
I
Right.
don't, I never really cared about Oscar movies. I think a lot of movies are Oscar bait.
Mhm.
You can always tell when a movie was made with the intention of getting an Oscar, and those are the kind
Right.
of movies I don't like. I don't like those kind of movies.
Mm,
Yeah, I agree. Especially when they're politically driven, you can tell that it's kind of, trying to check a box as opposed to just be entertaining and
mhm.
connect with audiences. But to your point, I mean that's all the more reason why, I feel like Get Out, from Jordan Peele and winning the awards was, totally not out of the blue because it's a great movie, but it really changed the conversation for, him as a filmmaker, for horror, being these, cinematic gems. and I'm not even sure that that was, you know, his best movie, 'cause my opinion, I liked Us, better than Get Out.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, but I'll open it up to you guys. Eric, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts, Get Out, I love Get Out. That's
Mhm.
number one. Let me say that. I think the reason why it works is because it speaks to the culture. There's a underlying message and a feeling that you get from that movie. That's kind of what's on a whole lot of people's minds. A lot of taboo conversations that people don't really want to have out loud, but they always had in our communities. So I think that's why Us works a lot. And Jordan Peele, the fact that he was able to transition from comedy to horror so easily was super impressive in my book. And then to do it kind of like back to back to back with Us and Get Out. Us is like my comfort watch film. I watch Us probably every other week. So,
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah, Lapita killed it. So
Yeah.
that's my movie, man. Yeah,
I thought they should have had more of those, costumes out for Halloween season, you know, and see people running around.
yeah, for
So,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I like Us. I mean, yeah, I like Us better than Get Out too, to be honest. I love Get Out though. I
Mhm.
remember I actually still remember my theater experience with Get Out. Just seeing how into it everybody was, and that was something that was was fun to experience, like
Yeah.
seeing people actually engaging with the movie out loud and
Yeah,
verbally. That was cool. But I think I do think Us is the better Jordan Peele film.
Mhm.
definitely.
Well, and the highlight, I don't know if I said this before, but, I'm, friends with Lil Rel Howery, who I met through one of my personal friends in Chicago, and he was saying how, you know, Jordan was like, "Hey, I want you in this movie. It's not really a comedy, but it needs some, you know, comedic relief." He's like, I can do the comedic relief." And he, you know, lands one of the best, you know, one-liners maybe in the history of horror comedies, right? And, you know, I just felt like Jordan just had a true understanding of everything that he wanted to convey in that film and with Us, and then it got a little bit weird for me after that. Like, I wasn't a big fan of the football movie he did with, was it Damon Wayans, the football one, Him, I think was what it was called.
He was with
I
Marlon
didn't
Wayans. Yeah, he
Yeah,
Justin Tipping directed that one. He was just a producer, but they
yeah,
plastered his name all over the marketing and made people think
Right.
he was a director. So that was kind of their fault.
yeah.
Yep.
And how much does that factor in when somebody like Jordan is a producer versus directing? Do you take it to another level when he's, like, actually behind the camera and, in charge of the whole project?
Mm, I think when he's behind the camera, I mean,
Mhm.
I know when you behind the camera, you have a little more creative, um, like say so,
Yep.
um, versus being a producer. But um, to be perfectly honest, I'm not 100% certain if he was behind the camera, if the movie would have been that different,
Yeah.
because it felt very much like a Jordan Peele film, even though he was just the producer.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not sure if it would have had much of a difference. I mean, I do think that movie had a lot of potential and it really did. It's just something that they could have done better with it. Like they should have certain segments should have been shortened
Mhm.
to make the third act better.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think that's all that movie needed. It needed something else. Like I wanted to see him actually playing the game with
Mhm.
his enhanced um gift from what I'm saying? Like actually see him on the field to actually become this top person. I thought the movie was going to be basically him becoming a star. And then when he reaches that certain level of fame, that's when he starts to realize that being at the top is kind of like demonic and twisted.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
instead, it was just about him behind the scenes before he even got fully into the league. So
Yeah.
it definitely didn't give me what I was going into it looking for.
Right. Yeah, same. I kinda thought I was gonna go with that angle too of like, "Hey, you know, I might get cut from this team. I may not make it, you know, to the next level, so I'm gonna do a deal with the devil," type of thing, and
Mhm.
then there's gonna be repercussions, right, based on that. So
So
that was kind of what I thought. And then, the other one that I wanted to ask your guys' opinion on was one of my favorite horror films growing up, which was Candyman. And obviously Jordan Peele loved it too. And he was like, I'm gonna, bring this back into market. And I didn't feel like he landed that one quite as well. What are your thoughts on the original Candyman and then the Jordan Peele version?
of course, the original Candyman it's a staple. There's not much you can say. It's legendary. You know what I'm saying? That movie is cemented in the culture forever. So you can't take anything away from the original. The one with that was directed by Nia DaCosta.
Hmm.
I thought she did well. It was cool. It wasn't. I think the issue with reboots is that you're always gonna get that comparison back to the original. And when
Yeah,
you have a movie with the status of Candyman and you don't knock it out of the park, you just make like it's like a decent film. It's not
yeah,
bad, not good. I'm not gonna say not good. It's good, but it's
Yeah.
just okay-ish. You know what I'm saying? Gonna get raked over the coals because it's Candyman. Like you gotta
yeah,
go for bat with that movie. You know what I'm saying? So I think when you do a movie like that and it's not phenomenal, it's doomed from the start.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Now,
I like that one. I didn't think it was nearly as bad as what people said it was. I mean, once again, it was just like with him. He was the producer of it,
hmm,
and because he was so hot after Us and Get Out, the studios was just like put his name all over the place, and so I just think it's just bad marketing when they do
hmm,
that because it raises expectations to a certain level instead of letting people just enjoy the movie for what it is. And I'm hoping that they don't do that same thing with the Mandela Catalog movie because
hmm,
Steven Spielberg is producing it. But I don't want them if they push it as a Steven Spielberg movie, it's going to raise expectations to an astronomical level,
Mhm.
and
hmm,
it might not um, lead up to that. And that's kind of what I love that they do with the Evil Dead movies, because Evil Dead 2013, Evil Dead Rise, and Evil Dead Burn, all three of those were produced also by Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell, who were the originators of the Evil Dead franchise. But as long as they keep their name off the marketing and they keep their faces out of everywhere and, they're just credited, it gives people the opportunity to watch the movie for whatever it is instead of Evil Dead Burn, produced
hmm,
by Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell. If you
Yeah.
see if you see an Evil Dead movie that's marketed as produced by Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell, off rip, everybody's going to be like, oh snap, we finna get Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness again. We finna get that. No, and you're not. So
yeah,
instead of that, just appreciate Fede Alvarez for what he did in 2013. Appreciate Lee Cronin for what he did with Rise. Appreciate Sebastian Vanacek for what he did with Burn. Instead of looking for the next Evil Dead 2 or Ash versus Evil Dead.
hmm,
So them putting Jordan Peele's name on these movies that he's just a producer on makes people negatively judge movies that really aren't that bad. Because
yeah.
Candyman 2021 really wasn't that bad of a movie.
Right.
It really wasn't. I actually enjoyed it.
Yep.
All right. So let me ask you this: so, do you have a favorite horror director in general, where you're like, oh, I'm gonna go see everything that this person makes, no matter what critics and friends and people like myself are saying about it? Who's like in your pyramid of greatness when it comes to film directing for horror?
Um, Anything that Ty West does, I'm a rock with. I don't think I have any Ty West movies that I like absolutely don't like.
Hmm.
Um, I definitely rock with Ty West. The one movie that he did make that I was disappointed in was Maxine. Um, and I really, really, really wanted to love that movie, and I was kind of disappointed with it. But still love Ty West. Um, I want James Wan to get back behind the camera again.
Hmm.
He's just been producing a lot lately, but I want to actually see him get back behind the camera. Robert Eggers, I'm definitely gonna rock with anything that Robert Eggers does.
Hmm.
Right now Zach Kreger has my approval. I can rock with Zach. Barbarian was wild, love that movie. Weapons, while I do think it was a little overrated, I
Hmm.
still like it. Um, I still liked it. I mean, I just think it was a tad bit overrated. And right now, I mean, because my favorite I guess, new franchise is the Smile movies.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
definitely in support of Parker Finn.
Mhm.
And I hope he directs the third one. I hope they don't give it off to somebody else. I hope he directs the third one. After that, if they do decide to continue it, I wouldn't mind them experimenting with somebody else. But for the third one, because of where that second one left off
Mhm.
and what it potentially set up, I want Parker Finn to keep that going himself.
Mhm.
All right. Yeah, the second one, I've told the story, but I ended up watching that on a plane, and I was so anxious because I mean that's one of the most intense horror movies that you're ever going to see, right? Because you know all this stuff is about to go down, you know that all these people are going to get hurt or unalived in the next like 20 seconds, and there's just nothing you can do about it other than cover your eyes, look away, or just kind of deal with it, you know. But it's just so intense how they pulled a lot of that off. Is Smile one of your favorite franchises because of, like, how scary it is, just the concept? Like, what is it that makes you say, "This is one of my favorite franchises," aside from the director, you know, doing what they do?
What makes the reason why I like the Smile movies is because of the fact that I like J horror.
Mhm,
I like it reminds me so much of Ju-on and The Ring and Melody of Death and stuff like that, like the unseeable curse that follows you everywhere you go. I love that concept. I love the mystery behind it. I love how in all of those movies there's a part where the person gets tired of being tormented, so then they start to uncover the mystery and they try to figure out the origin of the curse. Where did it come from? How do I get rid of it? That's always one of the more interesting parts of those kind of movies,
mhm,
because you get to, it kind of puts you in the shoes of the character, and that's why those movies hit for me so well, because you're experiencing the terror along with them, versus a slasher movie where you like half rooting for the slasher and half rooting for the victim. But with
Yeah.
those movies, you're not rooting for the demon. You're rooting for the main character because you're trying to
yeah,
figure out what's going on too. And every time they get scared, you get scared. Every time they get worried, you get worried. It puts you in the POV of the character, and that's why those kind of like those like cursed movies. That's why those are like some of my favorite ones.
mhm. Eric, what are your thoughts on the whole Smile franchise? Do you agree with Stoney?
Yeah, I like Smile. I like lore heavy movies,
Mhm,
like movies where there's something to be found out about what the hell is going on. Like, what is this? Why is this
mhm,
happening? Like, where did it start? Like Stoney said, like, I, I think Smile is cool. One of my others that I enjoy, I told you on previous podcasts, is Paranormal Activity, kind of for the
mhm.
same reason. It starts out, you don't know what in the world is going on. Now, more recently, they've been kind of dogging my franchise out with the more recent adaptations. I hear they're coming out with another one, and I
Mhm,
hope that they kind of can get things back on track. But when this thing first started, it was just like this guy and his girl decide to record what's going on, and you really trying it was at a time where found footage horror was getting really popular, and on the internet, it's like you're trying to figure out if this thing is real, or like, "No, hell no, it's not real. It's in the theaters. Why would it be real?" You know what I mean? But it's there, you know what I'm saying? It starts those conversations, and then you trying to figure out where did this thing all start from, and then you get, um, part 2 where it comes and does the same thing to the sister's family, and then you see the character from the original come in. Then the third one, when you kinda go back in time, when you try to kinda piece things together with what's happening with the grandmother. I like stuff that has a backstory. I like
mhm,
slashers, but don't just show up and start killing stuff. Like, just, give me a story, give me some stuff to think about, and that's what what I'm saying, that was what kinda works for me.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, along those lines, going full circle back to Candyman, were you, depending on what age you saw this at, were you scared to look in the mirror and say Candyman 3 times in real life, or were you
Nah,
like, "Oh, okay, this is
so
just"
if you grew up yeah, if you grew up where I grew up, you knew the story. You don't stand in the mirror and say Candyman 3. As long as you don't say it, you good. But, yeah, ask me if I ever said Candyman 3 times. Never, still to this day, and not
Yeah.
gonna do it.
No,
Yeah,
it's
or
still
like Bloody Mary or any of those other
Right.
things, where it's just like, I don't know, there's just something where, like, you hesitate at least, like, even if you don't
Mhm.
believe in it, kind of like, all right, what is the lore that even created this like fictional thing, right?
Right. And
So
see, that's the thing, lore. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Lore creates it activates some type of primal fear within us. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be the one to mess around and find out. You know what I'm saying? This came from somewhere, whether it's just the mind of some sick and twisted individual who came up with it on their own, or they heard
Hmm.
of something that happened in the past. But it's that possibility, and it's something that you don't want to mess with. If I ever see somebody kill themselves while smiling, I'm looking the other way. I'm gone. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And that's what it does.
Yeah.
You feel? That's what those type of movies do.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's why I love, I guess like bro, like I love lore movies. I love movies with a lot of like backstory and
Hmm.
because as a creator, it gives me it gives me homework. I love
Yeah.
movies that give me homework. Um, before I got into this, I used to just do the research for fun and just so I could keep my knowledge up. But when I started doing this for work, you know, it gave me something to do outside of just watching movies, because that is the one thing I don't do as a creator. I don't just sit around watching a shit ton of movies
Yeah.
like back to back to back to back, because I don't like
Right.
wasting my time.
Hmm.
I don't want to pull up a movie and then an hour and 45 minutes goes by, the movie's done and it was trash. So now I'm like,
Right.
well, dang, I just wasted an hour 45 and I have no content to make off this. I'm
Hmm.
not going to recommend this movie to nobody. I could have been using that hour 45 into learning about, you know, the 3 different Necronomicons and where they land in the Evil Dead timeline. Like
Right.
Hmm.
that's what I would rather do. So I love movies that give me homework. That's why I love the Backroom movie so much,
Yeah.
because it gave me a chance to do homework. And when I did my breakdown series of it, views was crazy. It was a lot of different theories going around. So those are the kind of movies I like. I love lore heavy movies.
Hmm.
And that's why I like the direction that Hollywood is going with this creepy pasta stuff, man. Because when I say I wasn't invested into this scene until recently, and people in my comment section just throwing stuff at me, cartoon cat, this one, that one, just throwing stuff at me. And I go on Reddit, man, and I just search creepy pasta or this name. And when I say it's so many people having conversations online, it's like a gold mine. And I think these producers are starting to look and pay attention and say, oh, it's something here with this. You know what I'm saying? There's a story, there's a backstory, stuff to find out. And yeah, it's an interesting time in horror, man.
Yeah. So along the lines of the lore type films, would you be disappointed if, let's say, like 28 days later with their franchise said, okay, this is how the outbreak started and this is how we fix it, or same thing with like I Am Legend or World War Z, right? Since that's coming back with a sequel with Brad Pitt. Like, do you want there to be a conclusion that kind of ties it all together in terms of where the lore came from and how to defeat it, or do you like that it's still a mystery and open ended and who knows, what's going to
Right.
happen next?
For me, um, certain, and I wouldn't be mad at it. I'm gonna go to see it regardless. I support horror. That's just what I do. I love horror.
Hmm.
But certain franchises, just for me, I haven't been a fan of. And I think some of them are being overdone. So for me, my first instinct when I hear like a 28 years later or 28 days later, some people love it, and I'm not knocking that. When I hear it, like I just kind of like I groan a little bit on this. I was like, I'm okay. Like I'm good. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? I'm all right. But there's a market for it. People want to know what happened and how did it start. So there's a market for it. Just because it doesn't impress me and I'm kind of over it, but
Hmm.
I'm interested in this new stuff, like this stuff that has been around but kind of underground. Like that's what I'm interested in, because if the people are invested in it, if my audience finds this stuff interesting, I'm trying to figure out why, because I'm bringing these things, bringing things to you. I want to know what y'all interested in. Why has this grabbed your attention? Why has this been under the radar for so long, but people love it? You know what I mean? That's what I'm interested in. I want something fresh, something new.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of I, if the lore wasn't established in the beginning,
Hmm.
don't go back and then just try to make up some stuff to fill in the gaps. Like I don't that I've never been a big fan of that. Like
Hmm.
that's why and like I said, unless there was already lore established, like Evil Dead Wrath that's coming out in 28, that one's going to be set in like 1973. So that's technically that movie happens before the first one even happens. I don't mind that because we already have lore already. You know, the backstory of the Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead, and how it got there. All of that stuff has already been established. So I don't mind them going back a little bit. But when you have a movie like the 28 Days, Weeks, and Years Later franchise, where the first one came out in 2002, and then now here it is way down the line in 2026, and you're just now starting to try to explain. You should have did that shit back in 2002, bro. Like
exactly.
Because now it just feels like you just trying to make up stuff to keep the franchise going, when you should have done this a long time ago.
Yeah. And if you're going to do it, it's a way to do it. Like weapons, that brings to mind weapons, right? Weapons drop, it was a success, right? But you have all of this hidden lore, all of this stuff, about the Aunt Gladys lady or whatever the case, right? And now what did they do very next film? They're talking about a prequel.
Yeah, do it like that.
Strike-wise, you know what I'm saying? First movie, establish a reason why we care about what's going on in this film, right? Now that you've done that, go back, give us a prequel. Now give us the lore, draw us in, then give us what we want. You know what I mean? There's a way to do it.
And speaking of the Book of the Dead stuff, I don't know, Stoney, if you've come across this in your research. I don't know where I found this, but there's lore, like getting outside of film for a second, of the Book of the Devil, I think is what it's called. And basically, I don't remember if it was like a monk or somebody was captured and put in a cell, and basically they were not going to survive. They had no food, no water, no anything. And so he decided he was going to make a deal with the devil. And the devil said, "Hey, like the only way I'm going to help you out of this is you're going to have to write this book. You got to do it all in one night." And the guy's like, "That's not possible." And he blacks out, comes to a day later or whatever, and there's like 2,000 pages written, his handwriting and everything. And that physical book is somewhere. I don't know like which church or if it's in the Vatican or wherever it is, but like this thing apparently exists, and a handful of people have like confirmed its existence. But that's the lore, right? And like that's the kind of stuff where, I don't know if a studio ever wants to cover that kind of stuff and where it goes, but it's like you look at Evil Dead and the Book of the Dead, right? And it's like a lot of even their lore probably was inspired by some of these other kind of creepy stories, whether in real life or otherwise. So I don't know if you guys have heard that one, but I don't know. Pretty
I
interesting.
haven't, but that's the thing. Like that's the thing that gets an audience. That's the thing that gets a cult following, right? Yeah, this is fake. This is, the Evil Dead movie that we go to see, but this is based on something that my uncle's cousin's sister heard about from her stepniece. You know what I mean? Like back in the day, this is real. This actually that's this type of thing that builds a community and brings out the audiences. It's lore. It's a story. People are kind of coming away from a time where it's just mindless killing for no reason. Yeah, it's there, but it's oversaturated. Like, tell me a story. Tell me something that's going to have me up at night thinking and want to get on the internet and do some research. You know what I mean? So,
and that's why.
Audiences are just different now. Like, they, especially when it comes to horror movies, horror has evolved and matured as a genre.
Yeah.
And this ain't the 80s. It's not just about rock and roll, splatter, blood and guts all the time. Now granted, we do still need a balance of those movies, but it's nice to have a horror movie that you can learn something from, that you can take something away from, that you can research on and break down the themes of it and stuff like that. It's just, there's always positives and negatives to literally everything. And even though it's good that horror elevates itself and can provide lore and conversation, it does still open up the door for, annoying fandoms. But that's kind of what it is in every niche. You know what I'm saying? But as long as it makes sense and it's easy to understand, that's all you need to do. Just make it make sense and make it easy to understand, but at the same time, challenge thinking. If the thinking is challenging, that's cool. But sometimes a movie can. I don't like movies that do too much.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, you can try to interpret it one way, but it's kind of like bloated. That's why I didn't really care for Nope like that. I didn't really like Nope.
Right.
Because Nope had so much symbolism and so many metaphors and so where it just felt like the movie was just one big allegory for something that I still haven't figured out fully.
Right.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Exactly.
Well, that's all well put. And I know we're short on time today. So just want to thank our audience for joining this episode of Fear Assembly. And we'll have more episodes for you shortly. Thank you, Eric. Thanks, Stoney. We'll talk soon.
All right.